Peace to the guys. I'm out here with the one and only Zayd Malik.
My niggas. What's
New
happening?
Africa, you know what I'm saying? And I'm very pleasure and honored to do this. We had to actually come up out the little computers and all that and behind the screen.
But yeah, man, this shit, like, you know, when I was little, we used to come out here shit with the New Afrika Peoples Organization and New African Scouts and all that shit. And we used to just run around.
When you was little?
When I was little.
Oh, so you was born in that?
Yeah, I was born in Los Angeles, California.
I'm talking about the New Africa movie. You said.
Oh yeah. My parents was founding members of the Republican New Afrika Peoples Organization.
I didn't know that. So your cousin put me over. He put me over like that. I didn't know that.
No, my cousin, he always reminds me. He was like, yeah, I remember your daddy was on this, on that, on this, on that when we was on what we was on. You know what I'm saying?
So that's your connection to Pac, really, on some real deeper level.
Yeah, because Mutulu was a founding member of the Republic of New Africa, like from the very beginning, and the New Afrika Peoples Organization, which is like the grassroots organization or movement or section or I don't know what you call it, but you know, just break away from another organization called the Malcolm X Grassroots Movement, which is like the activist. Like if you know a person that just want to get involved with something black, you'll join the Malcolm X Grassroots Movement because you ain't got no real history, no real roots, man. Did no background checks on you. And the niggas that you know is the founding members, they call it the New Afrika Peoples Organization. That's
so
my parents. It's definitely levels, you know what I'm saying? And then so I was a part of this, like as a youth, like I was saying, when we used to come out here, I was part of this group called the New African Scouts, which is like our version of the quote unquote Boy Scouts of America, but for New African youth, you know what I'm saying? And like Pac was a part of the New African Panthers, you know what I'm saying, which was like a youth organization for the teenagers. So I was like one of the little homies in the organization, New Afrika Peoples Organization. Pac was like one of the big homies, along with my sister, both my sisters, Tupac, my brother Seasway, and a gang of other, you know, just big homies to me, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, so this is that, man, so that wasn't even the question I was gonna ask, but we're gonna go with it organically because this is a question I've been with that. So I always looked at this. I really hate how they try to take Pac's image and make it all this gang banging and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it's like they try to bury this aspect of it. Now,
For sure they do, on purpose.
Exactly. So if I'm not mistaken, he got beat by the police in like '91 or something, right? He was suing
like
the
in
police
Oakland.
station.
Yeah, that was in Oakland. Yeah.
Okay, so around that time, I heard that he was taking his rap money and funding New Africa. And this was what I don't know if that's true or not, but I was like just his involvement. Period. I feel like from what I gather, it seemed like the government had a problem with him because of that. Before all this other.
No, they had a problem before he was even fucking born with his people, Mutulu and all of them. They knew who he was before. It's like, all right, you know, you familiar with COINTELPRO. So one of the edicts of COINTELPRO was to prevent the rise of a charismatic black leader. You gotta imagine, or you gotta think about how these folks work. They don't necessarily fuck with you, or they trying to start at the root, bro. So they like, okay, this nigga got the potential, and just the potential alone. Like that's how strategic, you know, our enemy and our oppressor is. They fucking with the potential of a nigga that could start some shit. So they knew that Pac was from this lineage of true revolutionaries, Tupac Shakur, Shakur. They knew he came from the New Afrika Peoples Organization. They knew that nigga was a New African Panther. And so because of that, and even though he hadn't, in my opinion, got to the point where he could really, you know, bring that part of himself out to the hood, to the gangs and all that, you know, they was on him because of that. So it wasn't like, I say before he even got, you know, going and all this shit that he was doing, they was already like, oh, let's see when this nigga gonna pop it off, like it was on some shit like that. And so, you know.
They watched them already from birth.
They already watching them from birth.
Yeah, so if I'm not mistaken, because I got young people that watch me, I got bangers that watch me that don't be know this type of stuff. So if I'm not mistaken, his mother, Afeni Shakur, beat what was called the Panther 21 case.
Panther 21.
21 of Panthers.
Yeah, they said they were blowing up some shit. Yeah.
They said they accused them of blowing up stuff, and she beat it by herself.
Yeah.
While she was pregnant with him.
Yeah.
So so I get what you're saying. That's a target right there already.
So they know who his mama is.
So is that the reason she put them different names on him? That's what I gathered when I looked into it.
On Pac?
Yeah.
You mean like?
Some people do it for ghetto reasons. I got a nephew who had different names because his mama was mad at my brother.
What different names? Like I know Tupac Amar Shakur.
What was it? Lassane Parish Crooks, something like that.
That was.
I heard that was like that. What I'm saying is, I heard she was trying to hide him from birth.
That was her birth name. So a lot of you know, folks in the organization, like my daddy, his name Makungu Akinyela, right? But he wasn't born with that name. A lot of the folks changed their name from their quote unquote government names to African names to pretty much take their names back. They were like, we're not fucking with American names. We want, you know, we're not carrying on the legacy of our slave masters. My family name is Tyler, so just like my family's last name is Tyler, but when my daddy got in the organization, he changed his name to Akanyela, and then I was born Akanyela. Same with Afeni and them. Her name was Lassane, you know what I'm saying? And then she changed her name to Shakur with Matulu, and with this other dude named Lumumba Shakur, who's like the head. He was the head of the Shakur tribe, you know what I'm saying? His name was Lumumba.
So are you saying that she met him after Pac was born, or not so much met him, but like, you saying it had more to do with that?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So she met Matulu and all them probably after Pac was born, and then Pac came into, Matulu came into Pac life when he was about 5 or 6, some shit like that, and raised him, you know, from then on out. You know what I'm saying? Gave him this political education, gave Afeni a lot of her politics and all of that. You know what I'm saying? And then from there, they just became Shakurs. So Shakur is a family name that all the Shakurs don't necessarily have the same blood, but it's like they related by what they went through, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I want to put this out there, just on some, they like to glorify so much, you know, crap, is that I found that a lot of the Shakurs is not scared of police. This is something that had common, like it was common to bust the Shakurs, you might bust on the cop or something. Not saying you got to bust on the cop to become a Shakur, but I'm just saying it was a common thing that that was not something they was too worried about, which would make the name hot too, if you ask me.
Well, it's education, man. It's like, you know, they know where they come from. That's what they grew up seeing, you know what I'm saying? They got a natural bred, a natural born disdain for the police, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I can see that, you know what I mean? Like Black Liberation Army, they was known for, you know, going to.
I was looking at the time like Asada.
Yeah.
You know, you had the situation with Asada. Yeah. Just for the youngsters that may not know. So you had a situation with Asada who he looks at as an auntie. Right. Where it was supposed to be some police shot, and then she went to prison, and then supposedly they broke her out, and she's supposed to be.
That's what Matulu was charged for.
Okay, so then, okay, so I didn't know that's the same case.
Yeah, Matulu was charged with the liberation of Assata Shakur. That's one of his charges, and one of the reasons he went to jail. One of them, that and the Brink
that's the one I know.
Expropriation.
But he's supposed to be part of that as well, liberating her. Okay.
Yeah.
See, that's deep. So.
And they said that shit happened with military precision. Not a shot was fired. They broke her out of jail, and somehow, some way, you know what I'm saying, got her. Somebody, you know what I'm saying, they, you know, I'm not gonna confirm but deny, but somebody got her off to Cuba, and now she's in Cuba doing her thing. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, when I took away the hip hop, you know, with Interscope or whoever behind it is trying to do with his image, I saw that, and I know. Think about it, bro.
Pac had his own strategy with it, though.
But I'm saying, if we was talking about somebody, let's say it's 100 years ago, we look at somebody, he was a musician. It wouldn't matter how many million records he sold. If you tell me this stuff we talking about, I'd be like, damn. You know what I'm saying? Like an actual historical figure. You know what I mean? I think this would stand out more. So I think they're trying to shroud this.
No, they definitely are, because that, I mean, and you know, in my opinion, I know people got their different opinions about my nigga Nip, but that's one of the reasons I feel like he was, you know what I'm saying, taken out or made, you know, or the environment was created around him to be taken out the way he was taken out, because they knew his core, they knew where he came from, you know what I'm saying? Shit, Nip was around us. I'm sure my cousin done told you, you know what I'm saying? We related, you know what I'm saying? We used to trade a lot of books.
Okay, so I'm glad we was able to walk to that then. It's all organically happening. So this is a special man, y'all, so you have a connection with Nip as well.
Yeah, that's my little brother, man. I recorded his very first song he ever recorded. Shit.
And then just shout out to G-Bot. He always wanted me to bring this up. He said, this is the main reason why I gotta meet you. He said, God, y'all gotta talk about when Nip was Concept. He always said nobody wants to talk when Nip was Concept.
His name was Concept, you know what I'm saying? He came down to Atlanta, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, he stayed with me for like 3 months. We were trying to sell some weed, and, you know what I'm saying? It was back when niggas was shipping weed from out here to out there in Atlanta, you know what I'm saying? So he came after we recorded the song, and he was just at my house, and my cousin, you know, he used to always come through and fuck with me, you know what I'm saying? And so one day my cousin came through, and they got to chopping it up about gang politics, and this was before Nip even was gang banging, and me and him was on some shit that we was on, like New Africa shit, RBG shit, and we were just on that shit, you know what I'm saying? Recording songs on that shit and everything. So my cousin come up,
but they automatically. So you can confirm that. So that he do have that type of background where it's like, because
for sure.
I want to show you something. This is why, because just even me, even though I'm from 40s and I'm close to him, it's still, I saw him as somebody that had a street background and was coming and maybe came into knowledge.
No.
Okay.
That nigga was a motherfucking genius, a well-read, avid reader from before I met him. And then when I met him, I believe, this is my humble opinion, that he was inspired by my consciousness. Because I grew up like that. For the longest, I didn't know nothing but New African consciousness, and I was raised, celebrating Kwanzaa, raised, going to protests, banging on white folks. That's all I knew for the longest until I got to like junior high school and got out there on my own, and then I did my teenage thing. But so anyway, so he came down to Atlanta, and he was just surrounded by all the New Africans, all the new people in the New Afrika Peoples Organization in Atlanta. And I was taking him around to all the Kwanzaa celebrations, and we were talking. I think I put him on this project called Dare to Struggle that my goddad did, Matulu did, from jail. And the song that we recorded, I put it on there. And then we went on tour in the South doing that shit. And he, came to some of the tour dates with us doing that shit. And so he was just around me, when Matulu would call from jail. Matulu talked to him on the phone. You know what I'm saying?
That's big.
Yeah, back then before he was gangbanging and all of that shit. So he just, and if you look at the book by Robert Kenner, The Marathon Don't Stop, they talk about me. They talk about how he came down there and got inundated and surrounded and got his consciousness fed by the shit that I was on.
Can you say that name again? I've never read that book.
It's called The Marathon Don't Stop by Robert Kenner, the little white boy from the newspaper that wrote a book about Nip after he passed.
Oh, okay.
And they got like a whole section about me in there, about how, I kind of influenced him. And I say this humbly, you know what I'm saying? Because, at the end of the day, he was just my boy, you know what I'm saying? And
this is important.
He just kind of gravitated to me because of that. And,
this is important because they're going to love to tell the story of, the street dudes that maybe learned a few big words along the way.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? As opposed to
it's the other way
showing
around.
our people that power is power. And it's always going to come from intelligence. It's always going to come from discipline.
That nigga Nip was a knowledge junkie, bro. And then so he saw some shit that he had never seen before in me and the people, the way I was raised and the environment that I was in. And he just gravitated to it. You know what I'm saying? He was like, oh, I like this. Because, like I didn't even know how special my upbringing was until I got out there, you feel me?
Yeah.
And so he came to Atlanta and lived with me for a few months, and he just got exposed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I know, like when I watch his interviews, right? I only saw maybe, I can't say one. I saw for sure two. I would even say three, because it's more based on the questions they ask him. I saw two for sure where he went into detail, maybe one where they kind of asked him and mentioned it about him going to Africa. Did he ever, you was personally with him, did he ever talk about that?
So that happened after he left, you know what I'm saying? Like he was already, so after he left Atlanta, right, and we used to have conversations about being revolutionary, and he would be like, man, I'll never gang bang, and we on this shit that we on, right? And then, this is what I was about to tell you, my cousin came, right, and this when I realized that he was like not necessarily from the hood, but he was just like, he didn't have no choice because of where he lived, where he was really growing up. Like he had a consciousness and a thirst for knowledge that didn't necessarily fit where he grew up at, right? And so after he left from Atlanta and we was doing everything that we was doing, like immediately he went back and then he started gang banging. But my cousin said he knew that was gonna happen because when he came, right, he formerly from the hood and all that shit, they was having conversations and I was like, oh, you know that? Like they was just knowing niggas, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they, they was politicking on the hood shit. And when they was doing that, I just had to be standing by like, I don't know nothing about this shit, so I'm not finna hop in this conversation. But just by nature of him being able to have those conversations with Nip and my cousin, them talking that language, my cousin was like, yeah, that nigga, it ain't gonna be long now. And I was like, whatever, nigga, that nigga never, because I'm thinking me and Nip, you know what I'm saying? I mean, later, fast forward, after he got on and everything started happening, I had a cop say, bro, why'd you ever start gangbanging? You know what I'm saying? And he told me, he was like, man, it was a strategy. And this was all relating it to the Pac shit, because the whole thug life shit was a strategy to get certain levels of consciousness and knowledge and ideas and strategies to the street culture, to what they call, what Huey P. Newton called the lumpen proletariat, because these was the niggas that was about action. These the niggas that need the revolutionary consciousness, because these niggas that's gonna do it.
And I remember the lumber proletariat, right? Yeah. I haven't heard nobody talk about that looked like me since then. I swear, word is bond. Niggas talk a good one, bro, but they don't be knowing what's going on.
Proletariat, man, them the niggas, them the thugs. That's the politically correct way And that's what Matulu was great at too, man. Just kind of explaining our nature as people. Like, we ain't thugs and street niggas because like that shit we weren't born this way. It's like niggas is this way because of the conditions that we in. And so what is that? That's niggas that feel like they gotta be warriors within a fucking bad situation. And how would a warrior, which is a good thing in and of itself, express himself in a fucked up ass environment? Gangbang culture. So it ain't the gangbang culture. With that said, that's the negative thing. It's the environment, and that's why we gotta forgive niggas, because it ain't niggas' fault. It's like niggas is the lump of niggas is thugs because of the environment. Now, you take that spirit and you put it in another environment, or you educate that spirit, and you can really do something with that. You can really have a real revolution, because them the niggas that's gonna really what I said do it. Whether that's knowledge wise, they gonna do what they thinking if it's some real knowledge that's placed in their brain, or when it comes to hand-to-hand combat, you know what I'm saying? Trigger play and all of that shit. And at the end of the day, we need both. You know what I'm saying? Just like Malcolm say, you know, revolutions is bloody. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no real revolution that took place that didn't involve some kind of bloodshed. And if I say the word revolution or revolutionary, automatically what come to mind is a nigga that dashiki, weird ass nigga with an ankh on his chest and just always talking. You know what I'm saying? Always preach. That's immediately what a nigga think when you say certain words. When I say, you know, 6-0 or if I say cuz, immediately what that paint in a motherfucker head is what? Some criminal, negative, snatch your purse ass shit. And that was the beauty of Pac and Nip. They was putting all that together. That's why they were so dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Because they was like, oh, these niggas, they redefining. I told Nip this personally, you know what I'm saying? We used to talk, you know what I'm saying, just in text. I said, bro, you redefining what being a Crip is. And I told this nigga that's truly revolutionary. That's true, just to be able to redefine words that they give us on the Frantz Fanon shit I was telling you about, to really have the power with your experiences and your being to really transform what a word means, bro. That's power. You know what I'm saying? To quote Huey Newton again, like the phenomenal shit is being able to define what a phenomenon is, and then take control of it, right? Yes, that's in that book, Revolutionary Genocide, Suicide, some shit like that. I can't remember the name, but nigga, that's what my nigga was on.
I heard it from I think it was Bobby Steele talking. He said, "Power is the ability to define phenomena."
There you go. That's the book. That's the word. That's the quote I'm thinking about.
Define phenomena.
Right. And make it act in the desired manner.
Make it act in the desired manner.
There you go. So even with Pac, like the word thug now, like if you are familiar with Tupac and you know just period, you don't think of a thug as a nigga just that'll snatch your purse necessarily. Now you might, but he done put a dent. He done put a dent in that shit. You know what I'm saying?
It's even levels to it.
It's like now you gotta pause when you say thug. But before it was like, oh, you just talking about them niggas that ain't shit.
Exactly.
Same with Pac. Same with Nip. What he was doing with the word Crip and being a Crip and all the cuz shit. Now you got to think twice. Now you got to think about Nipsey Hussle. Who was that nigga? A businessman. A nigga that was about his people. A nigga that was bringing Bloods and Crips together. A nigga that just by his stature and his frame and his walk was creating peace in the street. And so now, that's what I told him. You redefining what being a Crip is and what it means. And that's power. And that's what they scared of. Like, that's like, nigga, you fighting a fight without fighting on some art of war shit. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's for real. Yeah, that's deep. So, I wanted to ask you this too, because your name, it stands out to me, but I can't say like, oh, what does it mean? Like, as far as I'm here to get it from the source, you feel what I'm saying? I know what it means to me when I see it, you know what I mean, what I think of. You know?
Yeah, so my nigga Edie, you know what I'm saying, started calling me King Zayd a couple years ago, so I just took that on. But I always went by Zayd Malik, who's a guy that actually passed away on the New Jersey Turnpike with a Tupac Shakur. His name was Zayd Malik Shakur. That's what I was named after.
So I was gonna say, even though it's used in, okay, it's Arabic. However, you know, Arabic is used in a lot of places, so you still can kind of ping a geography to where certain names are more popular. I hear Malik usually more like North Africa, West Africa. Like around like the Palestine area. So what I was gonna ask was, do you see it as like an Islamic name?
It's an Arabic name. You know, and by virtue of it being an Arabic name, a lot of Arabs practice Islam. So it's just that, and you know, the homies, you know, like Zayd Malik Shakur, Matulu was a Muslim. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of, and I asked Matulu why he was a Muslim or why he became a Muslim, why he practiced Islam. at one time. He was like, he just loved the discipline of it. So I think for black people that practice Islam, a lot of it is that, I think. They like you gotta pray 5 times a day. You can't do this, you can't do that. And they feel like they just needed that discipline, right? So, Zayd Malik, I believe, was a Muslim. That's what I was named after, but not necessarily because of that, but because, my parents, they just respected him. You know what I'm saying? They were like, this nigga's a top tier revolutionary cat, you know what I'm saying? That we would like our son to aspire to be like. We name our kids, or the power of a name. It's like whatever you name your kid is, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
A lot of times what they gonna grow into. So
even that. Like,
so New Africa with the K.
Ask one about me.
That's just some hip hop shit that I put on it, that we put on it, but it's really with a C. And it's New Africa because, they had a whole conference in 1968 in Detroit of all the black movements and organizations and down there that you could think of back then that came up with this concept of New Africa. They said this is what we're gonna do. You know what I'm saying? And basically, it's about reparations. It's about first realizing that as black people, we more like a third world nation within a nation than any other third world nation because of our birth death rate and everything that comes with being a third world nation. But we that inside America, so that's one, you know what I'm saying? So it was an acknowledgement that we a nation within a nation. That even though, we in America and all that, we got more in common just as black people apart from any other race of people than any other race of people, just based on our experience. So our experience as black people from Africa, most of the black people in America having roots and ties to West Africa, you know what I mean? Like most of the niggas in America, we from Ghana, Mali, and Songhai. That's where they came, but that's where they got all the enslaved Africans from and brought them here. So you got that. So we got more in common based on that. We not like the other Africans, so to speak, even though we got something in common with the other Africans in Africa, right? We got more in common with the West Africans than any other Africans anywhere, you know what I'm saying? So you got that. And then it's an acknowledgement of, like I said, reparations, like as far as reparations being paid in the form of land, technology, and money, but just the land piece of it. And so they decided that land was in the South, you know what I'm saying, the 7 states of the South, where New Africa is. And that land was chosen because that's where we, enslaved Africans worked for the majority of the time where we was enslaved, you know what I'm saying? So to this day, the South, or New Africa in other words, is the center of agriculture in the whole country. Like all the milk, all the cheese, everything agriculturally comes from the South.
Okay, so
just like Africa is the center of agriculture of the world.
So it's the actual place. So it's 7 states, you saying?
Yeah.
Does that include like Florida?
It don't include Florida for whatever reason. I can't remember the exact.
Is it Southeast region you saying though?
It's Southeast region.
Okay.
It's Georgia,
like
Alabama,
Georgia.
Mississippi. Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, the Carolinas, and that's it. I'm sorry, it's 5. So Georgia, Alabama, Carolina, and Mississippi. Yeah. Okay. And I said Georgia, yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's New Africa, you know what I'm saying? And it's just an acknowledgement of land that pretty much all the niggas in the whole country came from. Like I know after a while, after, quote unquote slavery was over, we kind of branched out into different places in America, but pretty much that's what they brought us first. You know what I'm saying? So it's like even in California, niggas in LA got a lot of ties, like they great-grandmothers probably from Mississippi, or they great-grandmothers probably somewhere from the South, even though they gravitated out here, you know what I'm saying? Like my family is from Mississippi, but my dad grew up out here when he was like 13, you know what I'm saying?
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's deep. So what I'm really saying is, like, why is it new? You kind of get what I'm saying? Like,
because it's a new experience for Africans in America. It's not just Africa. It's not just like, because we had the whole experience. We got DNA and ancestors from Africa. Like if you do your ancestry lookup, mine was from Gabon, Africa, particularly, and Nigeria, right? Like my maternal side was Nigerian, and my paternal side, which is my father's side, was from Gabon, right? And so it's a new experience though. It's like, it's never in the history of the planet have they had the kind of slavery that we went through as black people. Never in the history of the planet has it been, a great migration in terms of uprooting a whole people, a whole culture, and bringing them somewhere else to work the way that we worked, to enslave us the way that we was enslaved. And based on that, our experiences together created a new people, created everything that you see niggas is today. And that's why it's new. It's new.
It's new, exactly.
It's new. It's different for the whole history of the planet Earth. Nothing like that had ever happened. I mean, you had slavery and enslaved people here and there, but never this way. Never the kind of enslavement that we experienced, me and you and our ancestors here in America, has ever happened. So that's why it's new.
Have you,
and, you know, you got historians, you know what I'm saying? Like one of my godfathers is like one of the best historians, so he know, you know what I'm saying? He probably know more about that than I particularly do. But I think that most of the education and just history lessons that we got was just about, you know, our trip over, you know what I'm saying, what it was like, or who we were before we, you know, became enslaved. Because I think that's because, like I said, the new experience of the kind of enslavement that we experienced changed us, you know what I'm saying, in a way where, you know, people had never been changed before on a DNA structural level, you know, to where, you know, our mothers was putting fear in our sons because of what they saw their husbands going through, you know what I'm saying, the devilishness and the level of the evilness that black people experienced based on what white folks was doing to some of us, you know, put fear in some of our mothers while we were still in the belly, to where when we was born, a lot of times having to fight that fear, you know what I'm saying, having to grow out of that fear, having to, you know, do things that maybe might be unnecessary in other environments, and so all that. So that's why I think the focus and the onus was on that, because of just, you know, we were still trying to figure that shit out. Why is this shit affecting us so bad? And so we had to do a lot of that. It's like almost like, you know, well, certain things didn't matter as much as what we're going through now, because if we don't focus on what we're going through now, we might not be around to figure the other shit out anyway. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
No worries about it.
Because, you know, genocide, you know what I'm saying? They were trying to kill us off, bro.
In politics, that you see even some of the youth now shy away from, with a lot of the microwave generation. It's like, what could make me feel good right now, as opposed to what can we do to fix the real problems we have now, as opposed to just talking the shit that make you, you know, 10,000 years ago,
right,
he was this tall,
you know what
and
I'm saying,
had gold draws, you know?
Yeah, like what's that gonna do for me to get some food in my motherfucking stomach? You know what I'm saying, to feed my kids type of shit. And that is like, you know, as far as like, that's what the revolution or being a revolutionary should be about. I mean, education is cool, but that should serve to make you feel more whole, like more of a man, more of a woman, not just to, you know, be able to, you know, throw it in somebody's face. So I do think that, you know, that's what Pac was on. Because, you know, Pac used to debate with niggas in our organization based on that same, and I do too sometimes, like, nigga, what are we doing here? Like, y'all niggas been doing this shit the same way for I don't know how long, and ain't been no real revolution yet. And so what we doing wrong here? Like, we gotta stop just being so preachy and being so just only organizational and just meeting all the goddamn time. Niggas love a motherfucking meeting, right? Yeah. It's like, let's you better be at the meeting or you ain't real. Like, fuck are we doing here? Like, we gonna just go talk and then go talk some more? It's like, nah, bro, we need to fucking feed our fucking families. There's so many niggas that be in these organizations and quote-unquote revolutionaries, and they families in sham. I'm talking about they family at home. They getting divorced and their kids going through it, but they still fighting for the community though, you know what I mean? They got more love for the community than they do for their household. And it's like, well, shit.
Like a form of escapism.
Man, come on, you said it. You know what I'm saying? You said it.
Yeah, words bond. Yeah. And that's, you know, it's crazy because I didn't articulate it like that. That's what inspired me the most about your cousin, was that
he's doing it that way.
You know what I'm saying? Even if we got
a nation in this fucking
house.
He
come from the same place I come from.
That's
so
what
if we gotta do what we gotta
too.
do.
I love that about my cousin.
We're gonna build the nation right here before we build anywhere else.
That's probably the main thing I love about my cousin, that he's truly revolutionary, whether he, you know, expresses a certain way or not. You could look at his life, you could look at his kids, you could look at how he get down. And for me, that's truly New Africa. Yeah, Zayd Malik, fuck with my nigga Crip Jesus, man. We on our shit, you know what I'm saying? Just chopping up about New Africa politics and all that, man. I'm happy to be here, happy to, you know what I'm saying, say my piece, you know what I'm saying? Appreciate the opportunity, man. We outlaw RBG shit, New Africa shit, but in the new age, you know what I'm saying? With the real shit, not the bullshit. So yeah, man. Follow me on Instagram, Outlaw RBG. Salute.